Stay tuned for Ask Rhonda Live. Here's today's program with Rhonda Bennett.
Hello, Nashville, and hello to my internet listeners. I know I have a few out there tonight. I'm Rhonda Bennett. Thanks for tuning in to Ask Rhonda Live. This is my new showtime. I'm here every Monday afternoon from 5 to 5:30 to talk about what's going on in the world and in your lives. I'm a mental health therapist, ordained minister, pastoral counselor, and relationship expert. I offer pastoral counseling for only $50 an hour, and you can reach me at my office number, which is 615-594-6644. That's 615-594-6644. If you would like to be a guest on a future show to talk about what's going on in your life, please call me at 594-6644. You can also call in live to the studio line, which is 615-256-1360. That's 615-256-1360. You can also email me at askrhondalive@gmail.com. That's askrhondalive@gmail.com. I love answering your questions on air. I have a huge stack of them to get to, but I will be getting to them shortly. I have a guest today, Doug Colgrove. It looks like he's calling in. Hang on one second. Hello, you're live on the air.
Hi, it's Doug.
Hey, Doug. Good to hear you. I brought you in while I'm still doing my opener, and the last thing I do when I'm starting my show is read the love verses from Corinthians. So just hang in there tight with me, and we'll get to it. I always like to go through these once a week because that's something I think we're all having to measure ourselves up to and struggle with some of these things, I think. Anyway, from 1 Corinthians, the love verses go, love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Love never fails. And my favorite quote about love goes, real love inspires you to be the best that you can be. So that's some food for thought there. My guest today is a friend of mine from back home in Indianapolis, where I'm from, Doug Colgrove. He's also a therapist, and he does a lot of exciting newer kinds of therapy. So we're going to talk to him and get to know him a little bit better. How's the weather up there today, Doug?
Well, it was 65 degrees. Now it's down to about 40. So it's getting to be Indiana weather.
Yeah, well, it's been really warm down here, too. It's been in the 70s, so still had the AC on and all that good stuff. So I know you have your own practice, and you've kind of changed things a little bit. Why don't you tell everybody just a little bit about your background and what brought you to what you're doing today?
Well, that could be a long story that might last about a half an hour, but give it a shot.
The summary version of that.
The summary version is got involved in counseling when I was younger after I was a youth leader for a group called Young Life, which I was involved with at Speedway High School there. And one thing led to another. I ended up at Milligan College down there in Tennessee, beautiful Upper East Tennessee, and came back to Indiana and hooked up with a gentleman by the name of Rick Sudsbury. And we started doing some work together in the local churches on the west side of Indianapolis. Doing some good work. It's one of the oldest Christian counseling organizations in Indiana. It's been around since about 1984. Got my graduate degree from Indiana University, and I'm licensed as a social worker in the state, and I'm also ordained as a minister.
And so where did you go from there after grad school?
Grad school, I'd been working at a local hospital, doing some various things, inpatient, and working with the adolescent, working with the adults, excuse me. And then I took on the directorship of what's called the Employee Assistance Program for the local hospital, and I really enjoyed that work, the solution-focused brief therapy, helping people come to solutions pretty quickly. And I did that for about 16 years. Then I felt a little calling to get back with Rick. I'd been away from him for about 10 years, and we met up, had some lunch, talked about his retirement and me taking the ministry to the next level, wherever that was supposed to be, and that was back in 2012. In 2013, we became partners, and gosh, he just retired last month, so now I'm business partners with a lady by the name of Dr. Pam Reed, and she's a local psychologist who does some good assessment and therapy here on the west side of town also. So it's kind of on a wandering path.
Right.
It's ended up here right now.
Yeah, I found that that's pretty common. You know, we get exposed to everything when we're in college and grad school, and you kind of do a little bit of this kind of counseling and that kind of counseling, and then find out what your real passion is and where you can do the most good, you know, helping people. So what does your partner specialize in?
She is she's a psychologist with PsyD here in Indiana, and she loves doing the assessment work, the testing work. She loves forensics. And she's a pretty good therapist. She likes to work with kids and families.
Yeah, that's one thing I'm really interested in is forensics. You know, if I was 35 years younger, that's probably what I would go into is forensics and forensic psychology. But sounds like the two of you kind of have all the bases covered there with your practice.
We do, and both of us have an interest in taking care of orphans, and which brought us to this organization. Rick, before he retired, in the 20 years before he retired, he started doing some work with attachment and bonding, and went through a couple of different trainings, and then decided that it wasn't complete, so he kind of developed his own. He calls it attachment-based relationship therapy, and it's basically a type of therapy that involves the family of kids who've been traumatized one way or the other, either through spending too much time in an orphanage or going through other types of abuse or trauma. And we do a lot of work keeping families together and helping them understand what a safe and secure home looks like.
So I'm really fascinated by that because it's a new concept to me. So walk me through what happens if a family comes to you and you present the attachment-based relationship therapy to them. What is the process of that?
Well, once we work through the assessment part, which we use the Rorschach interactive method of assessment.
Right.
And did a lot of investigation with the parents doing some worksheets and whatnot. And we come to the conclusion that, yeah, the kid probably is dealing with some reactive attachment disorder at some level. Then we have an array of offerings. And probably the most intense is a 2-week, 4-hour-a-day, 5 days a week program where the child and family do some interactive work for about an hour, and then we do some parent coaching for an hour. We go back in and do another hour of interactive work, and then finish up with an hour of parent coaching. And we do that for 2 full weeks, and it really helps the kids understand how mom and dad are, and they're safe and secure. Also helps the parents, through the coaching part, understand how to present a safe and secure, loving relationship.
Right, and I know that's an issue for so many families now with the broken families and, you know, the terrible things that happen through divorce and all of that. So what happens as follow-up after that intensive program? After
those 2 weeks, then what we recommend is about 12 weeks of follow-up, 1 session per week, which is 2 hours long, where we do some more interactive and parent coaching together. And it really helps the family stabilize once they're out away from what we call the nest.
Right.
And when they get back into real life and have to deal with things on a daily basis without a therapist around them, that 2-hour touch every week for 12 weeks really helps them assimilate very well. Beyond that, it's then just counseling as normal, whether that be talk therapy or play therapy or whatever. They kind of get back into the routine that they've been to. And that's something that's kind of cool about this, is that we're specialized in this little window of opportunity. So if a therapist is dealing with a family and they want them to have an intensive for a while, we'll take care of that and then send them right back to the therapist.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, that's great. So, yeah, you've got that specialized program there. I'm fascinated by it, really. So tell me a little bit. I mean, I know what issues I've seen in dysfunctional families, but what do you see the most of as far as parent mistakes in a family that's still intact but really having some struggles?
Probably the issue of reaction. I see parents doing a lot of knee-jerk reactions because of their own level of stress and anxiety. And so the child then sees the parent as a fear-based relationship as opposed to a love-based relationship. And so our task is to help the parent kind of reframe what they do to more responsive, love-based, asset-based responses, so the child can see that love is the answer, not fear. As Scripture says, perfect love does cast out all fear.
Right. And I know you are faith-based and scripture-based. So where does that fit in with families you're working with, maybe that are not sure about Christianity, or it's new to them, it's a new concept? Do you see any struggles with that?
No, not whatsoever. The interesting thing is that, this is all universal. We can tailor the language to the faith-based person. We can also tailor the language to a person who doesn't have a faith of a similar kind, or none at all. It's all about developing a secure relationship, and I think that's kind of a universal language.
Right, and that's such a good point, Doug, because I do the same thing. Not everybody is a Christian, but everybody needs help, and it comes down to having the right motives and intentions, and having that love in your life, and being healthy, being a healthy parent. I mean, we're both parents. No parents are perfect, but there are certainly ways to learn how to be a more effective parent. What age ranges of children do you work with?
Wow, pretty much the gamut. Rick and his protege, Rachel Bennett, work with the younger kids up until about 13 or 14 years of age, and they're also good above that. But adolescence has always been my specialty from the day one, and so I kind of work with the adolescent folks. But Rachel is very much the local expert right now. She's been under Rick's tutelage for a good year, and she's done a nice job.
So I know you mentioned that you use play therapy. What other techniques do you use working with the really young kids?
Actually, it's not play therapy. It's a version of. It comes out of the Theraplay Institute in Chicago. Have you heard of them?
Yes, I have.
Yeah, and so Rick got trained up there, and then has added an extra component that adds more work with the parents. And so it's more of a Theraplay base as opposed to a play therapy. We do have some folks who do play therapy here, but when it comes to the ABRT, it is attachment-based in the Theraplay world. It's just a version that Rick created. He's the only one that we know of that is doing stuff like this in this country.
Right. Yeah, I know it's new to me, and it's really fascinating. So as far as therapists are concerned, what if a therapist is interested in getting trained in ABRT, what do they need to do?
Yeah, they just get on our website, which is saccc.com, and there's an area for training, and we offer periodically 3 levels of training, advanced, intermediate, and beginner, advanced, and intermediate. And Rick will do quite a bit of work with you. For the fee that you're getting charged, it's a lot of work and a lot of hands-on stuff with Rick. And they can, contact us here at the office, which again would be notified, or you can get through that on the website. And then we can arrange some trainings. We've tried to do one in the past, but it got just one person interested, and I think it's all in the way that marketing is done. And I'm a therapist, not a marketing.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I have those same issues, I'm not a business person, but the social media and internet is definitely the way to go. So Rick is still doing the trainings, even though he's retired from the actual business?
Yeah. He's retired from the chair in the business, but he wants to do some training. He would like to make little areas around the country that have pockets of counselors that do this work. Because right now, we've had people as far away from as Washington State come to Indianapolis, Virginia, Missouri, Florida, and then here local we have quite a few. So Indiana's kind of a hotbed of adoption for some reason.
So, if a therapist is coming from out of state for the training, how long a time would they need to be in Indianapolis?
I believe that each level is 3 days long.
Okay.
And I believe it is. I was trying to remember what he did last time. So, 3 days long. So it'd be room and lodging for 3 days, and then intensive. I think he would like to get at least 5 therapists together to start something, and he could do something.
Right. And then is it certified through another organization or just on its own?
It's on its own right now with CEUs granted by the state of Indiana.
Okay, so you do get the CEUs. Okay.
Right, exactly.
So tell me some more about your work with adolescents, because I know that's such a hard time no matter what. Even under the best of circumstances, that can be a rough time. So what issues are you seeing with the teenagers right now?
Well, at this very moment, probably anxiety has become a big issue with this group of folks from about 25 on down. I've seen more anxiety out of these kids than I have in past generations. I think has a lot to do with, how the families have kind of spread out, the use of social media and internet, the cyberbullying that's going on. I think there's just a lot of things going on that are really outside of the skill set of the children to take care of, and so anxiety and depression really kind of come on full steam. And that's what I'm seeing probably the most of. Secondary to that, just adjustment issues in the sense of moving from childhood to adulthood in that wonderful phase we call adolescence, where they kind of lose themselves for a while.
Right.
And to me, that's probably one of the areas I love the most is helping a child kind of figure out who they are and who they were to be created and who created them, and to see them kind of blossom in that. That's kind of a cool thing to do.
Yeah, because I still see a lot of young people who are, pushed into areas that they don't want to be in and not really given the support from their parents and their families that they need, because everybody's different. It's like I always say, you can have 3 kids from the same family, and one's going to be a rocket scientist, and one will be an artist, and one will be a nurse, and a lot of time I still see so much parental pressure on teenagers to do things they're really not cut out to do. It's not their passion or whatever. And I'd like your opinion on, I see so much lack of respect from that age group you're talking about 25 years on down. There's just a general lack of respect and manners, and just not just a very self-centered way of dealing with people and things. And what's your take on that?
I have a lot of opinions about that. I'll have to keep it short. In one word, it's entitlement.
Right.
I believe that in the parenting world, we've kind of gone overboard in, quote, taking care of our kids, where we've enabled them to be not very good at handling themselves, and so they lash out at other people. And so it's a disrespect from the fact that they don't respect themselves, as well as they don't respect other people's property and things of that nature. I can almost pinpoint the time frame, too. Back to, do you remember when they first came out with Air Jordan tennis shoes?
Right.
Yeah, and I remember a story that broke, nationwide, that somebody killed somebody for a pair of Air Jordans.
Right.
And that thought process of, well, you've got it, I want it, so therefore I'll take it from you, just kind of permeated through the media, through everything else, and has become kind of rampant at this point in time. And kids feel very entitled. Well, you know what? I want this, so I'll get it. Or I want to get an A, so you've got to give me an A. I don't need to earn it. You got to give it to me. And I think parents feel powerless in how they lead the family. So we've got to go back and help the parents regain control by becoming secure in and of themselves, and they can become stronger in leading their kids.
Right, because that's so much of it. I mean, if you are not a strong parent from birth on, you're going to have a 4-year-old that's out of control. And parents are not teaching their children conflict resolution, how to compromise, how to share their toys. I mean, just the simple things that you learn when you're really young. And, down here in Nashville, we have so many shootings and knifings and things over just what you were talking about. I want your shoes, I want this, I want that. And instead of trying to figure it out or get a job or be mature about it or talking through the problem, people are going right to their guns and violence. And I don't know, because I've always been a little conflicted about the weapons and the video games and stuff, because generations of kids grew up watching Westerns. We grew up watching Bonanza and Gunsmoke, and there was all kinds of guns, and little boys had their guns and their cowboys outfits, and the silly Looney Tunes cartoons that I love still are violent. And that generation, we didn't grow up shooting people. It was fantasy. We knew it was fantasy, and I'm really confused about this younger generation and the violence that's so prevalent. That's the go-to. So tell me what you think about that.
Well, I think it comes directly back to leadership again. Our parents, told us the rules and enforced the rules, whatever they may be, for our household. And so we knew how to obey and follow because they provide a fairly secure relationship with us. I mean, I can think back to the days out in the coke field with BB guns
Right.
on the 25th Street there, and shooting at things, and yes, even at cars going by, but and never really getting in trouble for that. And today, that would be a federal offense.
Right.
But I had good leadership from home, and my folks kind of stepped up to the plate, and I had discipline, and they taught me right from wrong. And when I got caught, I got in trouble.
Right.
And they followed through with stuff, and I'm not sure that that's really happening to the degree it needs to these days.
Yeah, it's just scary because I can't even imagine trying to be a teacher in the public school system now. I mean, they're scared to be in their own classrooms. The kids are unruly, and the ones that are trying to learn can't focus because the kids are not respectful, and they're not taught. We were taught definitely if a police officer tells you to do something, you do it. And
Right.
and that's where it's over the top to me. These young people just shooting back, and a lot of them end up losing their lives. But I mean, to be a teacher or a police officer in today's world would really be scary to me. So
I would agree with that. We do know that the best predictor of adolescents behavior as adults is their parental leadership and parental involvement. And so, again, I point back to we've got to do our best to help these parents be better parents. And I think that's going to be our biggest input.
what feedback do you get from the parents as far as they've gotten so far off track? What are they telling you?
I don't have time. I'm too busy. And that leads directly back to, okay, well then what are you worshiping? What is your purpose in this world? And you take it to the spiritual level, what is your God?
Right.
Time is your God, then why are you serving time and not God? And we have to make time for relationships. I mean, Jesus walked on this earth to demonstrate relationship to us and for us so that we would be able to be better at it as we got older. And so why are we not getting better at that? Why are we walking away from that when that was one of our major goals in this world, is become in relationship with one another? So we're giving that up to become busy at things and doing things, and we forget about being with other people.
Right.
I think that's
Go
one of
ahead.
the places that the parents feel like they're, contradicted, where they don't feel like they have enough time. They're too invested in their work. They're too invested in developing their life as opposed to leading their children.
And you drive by a playground today, or you're at the mall with the little the play center or whatever, and all these parents are looking down at their phones. They're not
Yeah.
they're not interacting with their kids. They're not reading to them at night. They're just I really don't understand why a lot of people have children, because they're not parenting. They're not engaged with them, and then they wonder, by the time they're 13, they're completely out of control. But the whole just not having any focus or attention on their family or their kids, it's frightening to me, really. So
Agreed. Unfortunately, it keeps us too busy, and that's a sad way to be busy.
yeah, hopefully we'll find some answers for that. But when you're working with teenagers, again, what do you find that they're wanting the most from you as a counselor?
Quite simply, someone to listen to them. That's probably the biggest feedback, someone to listen and believe in them. And I can definitely do that. I do believe in the value of a human being, that everybody's uniquely and magnificently made. And so when a child walks in this place, they're going to be loved. I think that's our first and foremost goal, is to love everybody who walks through this door. Whether we agree with them or not doesn't matter, but I am going to love them. And so the kids need to feel like they're important. They need to be heard and validated in how they feel, but yet challenged in the behaviors they choose.
Right.
So that's our job, is to also bring parents in and help them understand how to lead with developing good, healthy coping skills.
Right, because that's why I always say, that's what we all need, whether we're the therapist or the client or just a person. We all just need to be heard and validated, and that right there can turn a person around. All they need is one person that's going to listen to them and validate who they are and help them get on the path that's going to get them to where they want to be in their life.
Yeah, how many stories have you heard where the person's cited one individual who believed in them that motivated them to be better? And that'd be kind of cool if everybody could step around and do that.
Right. And, my mantra for 30 years has been, there have been millions of wonderful people that have come out of terrible homes and millions of terrible people that have come out of wonderful homes. And at the end of the day, all it takes is, one mentor or the person choosing themselves that they want to do good in life. I mean, you think about all the famous people that had terrible childhoods, and they decided that they didn't want to live like that. They didn't want to be like that. So they figured out how to make the right choices, how to do the right things, and not repeat what they came out of. But there's so many stories like that of people that you hear that just said, I'm going to make the right choices. I mean, in this day and age, you can watch sitcoms and learn right from wrong, whether you go to church or whatever.
Right.
I think, I miss the good old days because I always loved, Leave It to Beaver and Father Knows Best and My Three Sons. And there were always lessons in those shows.
Yes.
And, I just think you can take it where you can get it. But tell us a little bit more again about what you're doing in your practice and how people can reach you for more information.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that. Again, it's a Christian counseling practice on the west side of Indy in Avon. And we specialize in trauma and attachment work. I do something else I forgot to mention earlier is that I'm also part of the critical incident stress teams here in Hendricks County and Marion County. So we take care of first responders, firefighters, policemen, EMTs, military, and we try to help them work through the stuff that could create PTSD in the future. That's part of our repertoire here. You can get a hold of us. The website is www.faccc.com. And then phone number, if you don't mind, 317-272-8138. And we would love to chat with folks. There are some resources online if they want to get online and look at the books and the manuals, things that Rick has produced about what he's doing, and parents and teachers, and which he's done a lot of work for teachers around here too. They're available online for purchase, and we'll get them shipped out as quickly as possible.
I know, but we got a few more seconds left. Tell me just a little bit more about the work you do with the first responders and those people, because I know they certainly need it with the trauma in their jobs.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, here in Indianapolis, the big thing for us is CISM, Critical Incident Stress Management, and when something goes down that's pretty bad, and these guys have seen something that's not fun, like charred bodies and wrecks that have babies and infants attached to them, that does lots of damage to the brain and traumatizes them. And so there's lots of research that says once you normalize things the best you can in the first 72 hours, what I mean by that is talking them through, not going back to see the trauma, but to process their thoughts and feelings now for the future, then they're going to, fight off the effects of PTSD in the future a little bit better. And so we do quite a bit of that. I work with Hendricks County Hospital out here with these folks, and I've been part of the merit team in Indianapolis for a while, for probably a good 30 years now.
Well, thanks for a great show, Doug. We've been talking to Doug Colgrove. He's a therapist from Indianapolis. You can reach him at his website, which is saccc.com, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, thanks for all your information. I learned a lot talking to you, and I'll be talking to you soon.
Thanks for having me on.
Okay, see you later, Doug.
Have a blessed day.
You too. My name is Rhonda Bennett. You've been listening to Ask Rhonda Live. I'm live every Monday from 5 to 5:30. You can reach me at my office, which is 615-594-6644. And I will see you next Monday from 5 to 5:30 in the afternoon. Bye-bye. Are you having problems in your marriage or relationship? Are you feeling overwhelmed with stress, anxiety, or depression? Are you feeling stuck in your life and don't know how to move forward? My name is Rhonda Bennett, and I host Ask Rhonda Live Monday afternoons at 5 p.m. I'm a mental health therapist, pastoral counselor, and ordained minister. For the last 30 years, I've helped people solve their relationship issues, manage depression and anxiety, and set goals so they can achieve their dreams. I'm caring, compassionate, and non-judgmental. Because I do pastoral counseling by phone or Skype, I can charge a greatly reduced fee of only $50 per hour. I'm thankful every day that God gave me the gift of helping people. Let me help you get to the place you want to be. I'm Rhonda Bennett, pastoral counselor and host of Ask Rhonda Live, Monday afternoons at 5 p.m. Call me live on air. The studio line is 256-1360, or you can reach me at my office, 615-594-6644. Thanks for listening to Ask Rhonda Live on Monday afternoons at 5 p.m.